right, thanks a lot, Ming.
CJ, how are you, man?
How are you? This is a new little segment thing we're doing here, Cullen on Film, because I don't have the boys for Hang On to Your Shorts right now. So it's just me and you tonight. How about that, huh?
Excellent. I love it.
You know, we had you on before on our show on the phone, but now we get to see you live right here.
Here I am.
It's a new thing that we're doing, and it's a lot of fun. So I know Ming's been doing this with a lot of podcasters, so we're having a good time kind of doing this while there's not much else to do, right?
There really isn't. I mean, I'm blessed with a very large apartment here in New York, which, you know, keeps you from getting stir crazy. And I do have my guitars and everything. And so I'm posting old stuff, old recordings, and I'm, you know, tagging on new stuff. I'm actually learning how to bake. So it's been good. Well, and I do have an audition for a feature film. So I got to do a self-tape. Yeah.
Online self-tape? Wow. I guess that's what a lot of people are doing right now.
Yeah, it's a blind self-tape, and they're like very specific in the instructions. Like, don't worry if it looks terrible. We don't care about the lighting or who's reading with you, even if it's your doorman. You know, it's kind of funny.
Well, why don't we get started anyway? I mean, we're live anyway, but I'm gonna cut it up for
sure.
So, hello everyone, and hello to the Middletown Arts Academy as well, because this is for them as well as my TV film classes. The other day, my first interview we did was with Ming. So now we have Jack Mulcahy here. How you doing, Jack?
All right, guys. I'm hanging in there, man. Hope everybody's doing well, staying safe, staying home.
So recently, we're doing a lot of directors and studying a lot of directors, and it was St. Patrick's Day. So of course, I did a whole thing for the students on Ed Burns, and of course, and you came up. So it's great to have you here.
No, it's great to be here.
They actually read an article and had a little Q&A with one of the videos that he did, and we talked about the story, the great story that you talked about, Brothers McMullen, and how it got into Sundance.
Mm-hmm.
So the students, they know about that now, so that was pretty great. So I don't know if you want to talk about that and how that got started.
Well, I mean, I saw Brothers McMullen start from a drunken conversation in a bar over darts to fast forward about 5 or 6 months later. I actually forgot about Ed, and he called me up and he said, "Hey, man, I'm really excited. I got like 15 grand. I got some startup money. I got the script finished." And I said, "Well, that's great. How much money you got?" He goes, "I got 15 grand." I was like, "Oh, total?" He goes, "Yeah, that's all we need." So, we go ahead and we shoot it, and, one thing after the other happened. We had 26 storms that winter, so we couldn't match exteriors for the longest time. We were only shooting on weekends. Ed came down with an attack of appendicitis, so he was out for 2 weeks, and then our DP slipped a disc in his back, and he was out for 4 weeks.
Oh, jeez.
So here we are in the middle of winter. We've got maybe not even a third of the film in the can. And we're just like dying. I'm holding on to 45, 50 extra pounds, and I'm dying of shed, right? And and Eddie's like, "Oh, I hope you're still fat." When we get back to shooting, and we actually finished the final day of shooting a day before my 40th birthday.
Oh, wow!
And we had a huge party in my apartment. And that's in April. April, it's coming up. Well, because, I won a Best Actor award at your festival on my birthday, which was kind of cool.
This year, we pushed it to September.
I know. And I'll be there, and I'll have films there. So anyway, from that moment on, from April until December, I didn't hear a word from Ed, not one word. Until I came home and listened to the voice messages. Remember when you had voice messages and you had actually tapes in a message machine? And he said, "Pack your bags, motherfucker, we're going to Sundance." Click. And I was like, what the hell just happened? And Sundance was the only festival that had actually accepted us.
Oh, wow.
And Ed has a full wall of rejection slips and notices that people sent him. And then he tacked the Sundance one right in the middle of it.
Wow.
Which is kind of cool, yeah. And then the rest is history. I mean, after the first screening, we were the darlings of the indie film circuit.
Wow. And that started it all. And
it started it all.
It kind of blew up from there. And that's basically what I've been doing most of my life as well. And you've been acting in most of those.
Oh, God, yeah.
A lot of independent films, right? You got a whole
lot of independent films, and when you cut your teeth, and that's that's the medium that I feel most comfortable in, mostly for the fact that you get either the lead or you get really interesting supporting leads, and you get to work with young filmmakers. You get to, I mean, when you have too much money, and there is such a thing as too much money on a budget, you let attention to detail sometimes slips. And with, you have to make every dollar count on an independent feature, every single dollar count. And I don't know if Brothers McMullen would have been a better film if it was a $15 million film. Yeah. I really don't. I mean, it might have been a little more polished and maybe better. Maybe we could have actually used film, instead of used film. But aside from that, the story was there, the people were there, the passion was there. And because we had so much downtime, Connie Britton and I, and Mike McMullen and I, we would get together and we would rehearse. So when it came time to being on set, we were like polished and we were ready to go. No more than 1 or 2 takes, wow. Any one of those scenes. Wow. Yeah.
That's almost like, I mean, the way it was done then, it was almost like theater, right?
It's kind of like a play. Yeah. I mean, it would have to be. And we would shoot long chunks. I mean, I felt so bad for Ed's parents because, they had to light out, every weekend and just give us their house in Valley Stream. And I bought Ed's dad a really big bottle of scotch when it was all over. It's just like, he said, "Oh, thanks." I said, "I'm just replacing the scotch that I drank of yours. So don't really thank me for this."
So, Valley Stream, that's where I'm originally from.
Is that right? I didn't know that.
Yeah. Originally from Valley Stream. When I was a little baby. So my parents were there, my cousins, all that stuff.
Wow, I didn't know that. I thought you were a Jersey boy through and through.
For a long time, I've been a Jersey boy.
Yeah.
But New York, so.
Mm-hmm.
Well, anyway, if we backtrack a little bit, what got you into acting? Did you start in theater in college, or?
Well, with this whole pandemic, people have been reaching out, right? And I've been actually having phone conversations with people, and they're always lasting at least an hour or so. And today, I was speaking to my cousin, who went to Cathedral High School. She was about 14 years older than me, and she just called to see. She's in Texas now. And she called to see how I was. She knows my career has been, she's followed my career the whole time. But she also remembers when I was 6 years old, I went to our local movie theater and sat through West Side Story 3 times. And it's a 3-hour film.
Yeah.
And I didn't get home that night, summer night, till 9:30 at night. And my mother was terrified. She had no idea where I was. And I walked in the house and I said, "Mom, before you spank me, let me show you this. Tonight won't be just any night." And she goes, "Go to your room." My sisters were really upset that I didn't get spanked right in front of them. And then my mom comes in, she brings in some food, and I'm still bouncing off of the furniture and just doing all these dances. And she goes, "Is this something you think you might want to do?" And I go, "Oh, Mom, I'm doing this," when I was 6.
Wow.
Yeah. So I knew then.
And well, you started before Brothers McMullen. You're already doing it, though, right?
I was already doing it. Yeah, I had my first big feature was Porky's, which was another tiny little independent feature. It was one of those, hey, who knew, right? We made that for $1.5 million.
But I grew up with that.
I know, in that era, and it's funny because that film itself was. Another who knew, right? It was like $1.5 million, $1.5 million budget, and we had no idea what was going to happen with it until we were on the cover of Rolling Stone.
Wow!
And I was like, "Oh my God, are you kidding me?" And I remember the guy who played Meat, right, called me from Colorado Springs, and he goes, "Hey, little buddy, check this out," and he holds the phone up, and I hear this audience laughing. I'm going, "What the hell is that?" He goes, "Dude, man, we're heroes. We're going to shoot the sequel in June. See you then. Click." And I was like, "We haven't even released this one yet." And he goes, "Oh my God, this is crazy." Well, the thing wound up making $200 million.
Wow.
In 1982.
Wow. Yeah.
So we went back down to Miami, and this time, it wasn't like, the Tony Montana's South Beach. It was like It was like number one, first class all the way, with a budget of I think $9 million. That budget was, and that wound up making 90 million bucks. Not as good, but still. And so that gave me the jump start to film, because before that I was a singer and a songwriter, and I was with Atlantic Records for a long time, and what have you. So yeah, so here we are, 125 film, television, and stage credits later.
Well, that's great, because like a lot of my students, and we have the Arts Academy, which is made up of freshmen and sophomore, and they're singers and songwriters and musicians and filmmakers and actors. So it's all like a whole huge, and artists and things like that. So
it helps
this whole thing. So
mm-hmm.
a lot of them, they take all the different classes, and there's a lot of talent there. So
there is a lot of talent, and working with young filmmakers, particularly Columbia University and NYU, and I've actually shot student films for USC out in California. And what I love about their programs is that, 1 week you're the PA, the next week you're the writer, the next week you're the director. So you get to see it from the bottom up, to see how all the departments work, and they work in sync, because, actors are basically just a component of everything else, right? It's a director's medium, basically. As opposed to theater, where that's really an actor's medium, because once you take the stage, you can't be directed, so you're out there on a high wire, which is why, Shakespeare said the play is the thing, right? That's basically what it really boils down to.
I was never good at myself doing Shakespeare and reading it and learning it in high school. I did struggle, but I understood it, but I struggled. And I recently, and I've seen plays in the past, but I recently, over here in Red Bank, I saw Twelfth Night.
Oh, it's a brilliant play.
An amazing version, though. They added all this music that from this band. This band was part of it, and they were acting in it and playing all this music. It was the most amazing rendition I ever saw.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible.
And
it's a great play.
I couldn't believe, and it was only out for like a month, but it was sold out every night. But it by far the best version of it that I've ever seen.
It is, and I always say this to my students who I coach. You can walk into a room full of actors, and they can all be working, and hey, what have you been up to? Oh, I just booked a national network spot. Hey, that's great. I just finished a feature. I'm working on a short here. And if they walk up to me and say, "What are you doing, Jack?" and I go, "I'm in a play," everybody stops and goes, "Really?"
Yeah.
Because we all know how incredibly terrifying it is, first of all, how much work it is, and yet ultimately how incredibly rewarding it is.
It was the first time I was, when I was in high school, I wasn't sure. I never really did a play or a movie or anything when I was in high school. And then my senior year, I did a play for the first time, got on stage for the first time. And all my fears or everything getting up in front of it just all went away. And I loved every minute of it.
Yeah. I mean, you are really forced to be in the moment, right? All five senses have to be working in concert. You have to even smell your partner's desperation, if that's the case.
And at that moment, I was like, I wish I did this years before.
Yeah, yeah, I know. It's and you really have to listen when you're on stage, even if you're not part of the scene. You really have to realize. And I tell my actors again, it's like you really start to hook into it when you realize who you are and where you are in the play, right? And I'm not just talking about what page you're on, but what part of the play that you are, how important you are to it, and what component of the play do you have that has forbearance on the play itself.
That's something I miss. I love going to the city and seeing black box theaters like that for plays. I haven't done it in a while, and now we're not going to do it for a while. So
I know.
I'd like to get to that.
And although PBS is streaming live Broadway shows.
Oh, really?
That have been taped. Yeah, they're for free until
Phantom.
I think the end of June, something like that. Mm-hmm.
We were supposed to go see Phantom this month. The end of April, we were supposed to go see Phantom in the Opera. I've never seen it, wanted to. So
I had tickets last Tuesday night for the opening night of American Buffalo.
Oh wow!
I know.
So
I know it was.
hopefully, once this all passes, we can get back to Broadway and seeing those shows.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I think after this is all over, I think that you're going to see an explosion of creativity because artists, we go into our little cocoons and we ruminate and we just we got to get this stuff out.
I said,
And we will. And I can't wait to hear and see what's coming out of this.
and, we're doing assignments and things online, but I said, if you have an idea, write it.
Oh, absolutely.
We'll go crazy.
Absolutely.
We'll go crazy. You'll see all these people like, oh, I got this story, and everyone's working. And so hopefully we can do that this summer. That's like, I hope.
God, I would love that.
Yeah. So I'm going crazy thinking this and that story and all these things. I'm also, I got the master classes.
Yes.
So I'm watching those, just keeping the break, so.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to keep your chops up somehow. And I've taken a few Zoom meetings as well. And, I've coached a few people online, which is fun. It's not the same as, direct contact, but I've also done a lot of union work because, of course, the union's been involved and, actors are freaking out. And so we just need to tell them exactly what it is that we're doing for them. Well, and keeping it together.
I'm going to ask you about, so you're SAG, but you're also working for SAG. You're one of the New York chapter, right?
Yeah, I am a New York local board member. I'm also the vice chairman of both the Low Budget Film Committee and the SAG Indie Film Committee. And I sit on 3 other pretty important committees, including the TV and Theatrical Contract Negotiating Committee. So we have been taking meetings and rest assured that the stewardship and the staff they're on top of everything. They're making sure everybody's getting their residual checks, making sure that everybody's eligible for unemployment, and all these kinds of benefits. The Actors Fund is fully loaded. So if you need help, ask. If you can help, give. That's what we say. And yeah, I've been doing union service since just after the merger. So almost 7 years now.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's been good. And I've been a national board member, alternate for about 35 meetings now.
I know you go back and forth coast to coast.
Yeah, a lot. Yeah, quite a bit.
Yeah.
Because the national board has to meet 4 times a year. Yeah, and it helps. I mean, it helps actors. I know the artistic part of what we do is the most important part. But you really have to have some business savvy, or else you will get taken advantage of. That's another committee that I'm on. It's called the PRC, the Performers Relationship Committee, where we make sure that actors know the contracts that they're signing, because they have this thing called the GSA, a General Services Agreement, that if you sign that without even reading it or sending it to a lawyer and have stuff stricken out, you will probably give away your firstborn son. And if you hit the lottery, they can take 10% of that forever. And, just stupid stuff like that. The language that they write in these contracts is not aimed to benefit you. It's to benefit them. So you have to be really, really careful about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know we were hoping, Kevin Smith just wrote Clerks 3, and we were hoping that maybe this summer we'd get to film it right here. And we're right here in New Jersey. So he's going back to the original place. So,
I'd love that. That's awesome.
They have the new tax write-offs from New Jersey, tax incentives and things. So hopefully we get to do that.
Yeah.
We get
to see them. I mean, the feature that I have to do the self-tape for is being shot in Pittsburgh, and even in their breakdowns, they're saying we are really, really hoping we can shoot this by the end of July.
Yeah.
So that's, I think that's hopeful. As I always say, expect the worst and hope for the best, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So it was going so well too, I think, right before all this.
It really was. I mean, I had a bang up like the first, 10 weeks of the year. And it's just like, I had 2 feature films, a short, and I was producing a web series, and that was like really on track, ready to go. And then the brakes hit. And so I did lose a feature and I lost a short film, but that's about it. So,
I mean, just
yeah.
I thought, and even with our film festivals, we were getting so many submissions. It was like the best ever with submissions, and the films were like. There's a lot of times where you get like a lot that aren't so good, and you're like, you can easily say, okay, no way.
Yeah.
Now the competition this year was ridiculous.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, that was great, and then I love if it doesn't make it. It's like, oh, it's good. It just we can't fit. Doesn't fit under what.
Right. Well, as a program director, I mean, you have to have these other considerations too, right?
Yeah. So I in the last couple of years, we have a lot of more people working on it and doing it, and even next year. So we're since we are doing it in September, we're gonna open up for the next year soon, hopefully, to get submissions in for the following year, because then we're gonna turn around right away, September,
of course,
and then May,
of course,
or April, May already. So before you know it, we'll be going again.
Yeah. Hey, it's people will be raring to go. People will be dying for content, and and just being in a space with human beings. It's like
we got all these festivals we submitted to, but now they're doing the online thing, a lot of them, so that's good.
Yeah,
I have a lot of seniors graduating, and they're going to miss all.
Yeah, it's difficult, but I mean, we had 2 films in the Garden State Film Festival.
Yeah,
and that went virtual.
I was watching it,
and
so
yeah, we had Girl Boxer in there, and we had the House on Cox Curve, which you've had at your festival.
Yeah,
and it was good, except for the fact that if you weren't plugged directly into an Ethernet cord, you were going to get an awful lot of buffering and what have you. So, I mean, they had a lot of Wi-Fi issues, but of course, because everybody's on Wi-Fi right now.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, everybody was on.
So I'm sure that the waves were like completely jammed.
Mm-hmm.
But they did, they tried to make lemonade out of lemons, and they were given a big lemon too, and it was just a real shame, because festivals are not just about the films; they're about the networking, they're about the connection, they're about just meeting people who do what you do and do what you love and love what you do.
And my students enjoy going to that as well.
Yes,
right here, right here. So it was a great opportunity for them, and they meet a lot of people, and a few of them are going to film school. So it's like they've already met all these people at these festivals, and they got a lot of contacts. So it's a shame, but it is what
I know. It is what it is, sadly. Yeah.
When this is all when we get back into it, so you got a bunch of stuff lined up as soon as we start up?
I mean, I hope so. I mean, I think the web series, which is going to be, it's called The Show, and it's based on a team in the softball league, of which I am a commissioner, and it revolves around a team called the Foul Balls, right? And they have to stay out of last place, or else they get relegated to the Staten Island League the next season. And it comes down to the final season. So there's going to be 7 episodes, about 5 or 6 minutes each. And we're rolling along. We have it completely cast and ready to go. And we're going to do a Kickstarter fund. We were going to do it the week that, the baseball season opened, but that's not going to open for a while. So we'll see how that goes.
In baseball,
I do have,
it's baseball season. I waited a long time for this.
So did I. I mean, Jesus Christ, and and softball was supposed to start in 2 weeks, and so a lot of things on hold. But it's not like I have any fear of missing out, because I know everybody else has got some shit going on, or not going on, I should say.
So I guess I've been doing this now, so this is something new.
Yeah,
I'm always podcasting, but now over the internet, something new. But people have more time now, so I'm able to get some more interviews and things like that.
Yeah, exactly. And people are dying to talk about it.
They're like, let me go on. I want to go on.
Please, I need to go on here.
We have another. I'm going to do another show right after you, so I'm going to rack up these shows.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's basically.
But One other cool thing that has happened. I don't know if you knew about this thing that I did back in 1988. It was a thing called Creating Rem Lazar. And it was a children's after-school special, and it was a musical. And I play a singing superhero. And I take these two 10-year-old kids on a journey to find the highest point of the imagination, which is love. And they conjure me up in their own mind separately, and then they decide to build him, and then they bring him to life. Well, anyway, this thing was only out on VHS, right, for years and years and years. And I don't know how many got sold, maybe 3,000 or 4,000, whatever. But all of a sudden, it started to hit on the internet.
Oh, wow.
Like about 6 or 7 years ago. And before you know it, I'm like a cult hero to these people now. There's like all these channels about it. I mean, somebody, oh, a schlocky 1980s film, blah, 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 just what have you. But it's a really sweet message. I've got my own action figure.
Really?
They've made a doll of me.
Wow.
I mean, we did a VCR party live on Facebook 2 weeks ago, and it was a smashing success. And tonight they're going to have the director on, director Scott Zacharin, who did this, who wrote it and directed it, back in 1988. It's just like crazy. So if you want to like check it out, Creating Rem Lazar, just pop it into YouTube and it'll pop right up. The songs are great.
Talking about this earlier about how like everything from the like 80s and early 90s is coming back.
I know. Well, it's a generational thing, right? And what's funny is that I did a play with a woman about, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago. And all of a sudden, one day I posted a picture of Rem Lazar on Facebook. And she writes me, she's like going, what about this Rem Lazar? I'm like going, oh, Bianca. I said, I was Rem Lazar. She goes, no. She goes, I loved that film when I was a kid. No wonder I felt so comfortable with you when we were acting together. It's really kind of cool.
That's funny. Yeah.
I know.
And now,
shit.
And now there's well, you've also done a lot of television.
Yes.
Cousin of mine was just doing some TV. I've worked behind the scenes on TV, did some extra work on TV. But you've done a lot. You've done a lot of different shows.
Yeah, a lot of shows.
Well, most of them in New York.
Yes, as a matter of fact. And the only time I was out, I mean, I spent 2.5 years in Los Angeles, and at that point, it was right after Brothers McMullen had hit, and my managers and my agents wanted me to go out to Los Angeles. But I thought that the indie filmmaking thing was going to be here, and they tried to push me into television more and more. And we're talking about the mid '90s.
Yeah.
I mean, television isn't what it is right now, because television is film right now, and film is television.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, you look at these series that are just so great. I mean, Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, and just all of them are just amazing.
Yeah, they're all made like a film, and they're hour-long.
Yeah.
Walking Dead, Donovan, those are like, they're epic.
Believe me, I mean, digital flipped the script entirely. It really did. And that's where a lot of the really, really good writers have gone. But getting back, in the mid-'90s, I was out in Los Angeles for 2.5 years, and I booked 5 feature films while I was out there. They were all shot back in New York.
Wow.
So it was kind of like, yeah, the writing's on the wall. So I came back to New York. But yeah, I've done all the Law and Orders. I did every single Law and Order. And most recently, a nice Blue Bloods turn, which was great. Oh. And I auditioned for that show 13 times before I nailed this part. And it was actually worth the wait, because it was so good.
And you recently been on a few TV shows recently, right?
Yeah, I mean, the Blue Bloods thing was great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
yeah, that was a top of show guest star, which was great.
Yeah. When
you have that front credit, that's nice.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, single card front credit. Yeah. Take it from me.
I used to like working behind the scenes on the TV shows and things like that. That always, it's a little different now that I'm teaching, but it was a lot of fun for that in New York City.
Absolutely.
Every day.
Oh God, yeah, it was so much work. It's so great.
You missed
and I worked with Belzer, and I worked with Ice-T and Tom Selleck and Bob Clohessy and all these guys, and they're just a bunch of really, really cool cats, and the scene, and the crews are always awesome because you usually work with the same guys, right?
That's it. And you go from one project to the, if you're doing independent film, you might see the same.
And they remember you more than like you'll remember where you worked with them, right?
Absolutely.
Because it could be like a completely different set,
Yeah,
right? A completely different show. I mean, I go in on Blacklist and, have a sound guy that I did Blue Bloods with, or I'd go in on Blue Bloods and I'd have the sound guy that I did all the Law and Orders with. And it's pretty cool. It's a really tight community.
Yeah. I've seen people that I haven't seen in like maybe when I was young doing it, that I worked with behind the scenes. And then 20 years later, I went back into it. I saw the same guys working on the set. I'm like, wait a second.
Yeah.
I worked with you 20 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I worked with you 20 years ago. You were like, the assistant writer. Now you're directing, right?
Right. Yep.
And that's how that works, man. It's like, I got, and then I've actually done play readings with some of the guys from Law and Order, and it's like terrific stuff that they like even call. Hey, Jack, thinking about doing this thing. Would you be, if you're writing it? I'm there.
Absolutely.
Always say yes.
Always say yes. Yes, absolutely. And don't be afraid to ask questions either. We were talking about
right.
the other night. So a lot of
that's right.
people are afraid to go up and say something. You never know what can happen. Just ask. Talking about, he just went up and asked someone a question about a place in Asbury. So now they have another podcast studio in Asbury Park. All he did was ask.
There you go. It's I had one client about, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 months ago, and we were working on a scene from American Buffalo, and and the kid had some talent, right? He really never worked, never took any acting lessons. Somebody referred me to him, and after a while, it's like 25 minutes in, I said to him, "Do you have any questions?" And he goes, I'm really not good at asking questions. It's like, well, is there anything you want to know about the scene? He goes, yeah, but I don't know how to ask. I said, well, is there anything confusing you? Well, yeah. I said, well, then that's the question you need to ask me.
Absolutely.
I can't be the one asking you the questions, right? You have to ask me. I'm the teacher here.
And there's always times when we have somebody in the classroom, like we have a guest in the classroom, and I say, "Any questions?" And you hear crickets.
Yeah.
It's like, you got to know.
You're killing me.
After it's over, then they go up to the person by themselves. And I guess they don't want to say it in the crowd. They go up and ask.
I know. I know.
If you could have said it, Brittany would have been talking.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Just bring up one question, and then that'll spur more questions and more interest, right? More curiosity. And that's what I also tell my students. It's like, remain curious. Always be curious. When you think about a character, think in terms of, what if I were, what might I do? Even what might I wear? How would I walk, right? How would I greet the day? How would I, would I take the subway? Would I grab a cab? Just the more specific you are, the better your performance, the more organic.
Yeah, absolutely. But, well, I just want to say thanks for coming on. This has been great. And
yeah, man.
And
always good talking to you. You know that.
Absolutely. So we're excited to see you. So hopefully before then, maybe we got the Bright Side in August, hopefully.
Okay, let's do that.
We're hoping that's going to kick everything off early August.
I sure hope so, man.
We're hoping that happens. Because we had our last Bright Side early March. We had it. It was a successful weekend, and then right after that.
Yeah, I saw that, man. I was like dying to be there. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, that was it. So
yeah.
And then so we're hoping that we can get that August one in. I think so. I think August. I think everyone.
But people stay the fuck home, sure.
I think people will, if they do, yeah, because that is. I've been home. I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
Same here, man. I'm growing a beard.
I go out for walks. I get some food down the street if I can, where I order out, and that's it. That's it. I'm in.
Exactly.
So,
exactly.
My parents. I had to move my parents the other day, though. That was rough. My parents moved out of their house. So we moved them, and my sister bought their house. So it was with couple family members
Oh,
the whole day.
wow.
So that was it.
Wow.
It was rough.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
No human contact.
I know, man. I know. And, when I see people in the street, and I have to like avoid them like they have the plague, it's like, well, they kind of do, right? It's like, it's a strange time, but, again, we got to take the lesson from all this.
Yeah.
Right. We have to take the lesson that, everything is not always in our control.
No.
It just isn't. We can only control as much as we can control. And, just be safe out there, guys.
All right. Thanks so much. Thanks for coming on. And,
thanks, CJ.
Yeah. Ming,
say hi to Ming for me.
Ming can say hello. Is he still there? He is. Hey. Oh, he's
I'm right
Ming.
here. I'm right here. Thank you, Jack, so much. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, man. It was great.
Stay safe, my friend.
You too, guys. Be well.